Hi, I'm Jess the filmmaker, and this is my week one recap of The Artist's Way by my latest and favorite author, Julia Cameron. Kudos. You did your big one with this one, girl. You did your big one with this one. So I picked up The Artist's Way after I got a recommendation actually from a film student of mine. So I ordered the book, it came. I breezed through it, looked through it, and saw that it was structured in a way to where you have a weekly task and it's broken down into 12 weeks. So one week is like recovering your sense of identity, one's like on anger, etc. And every week at the end of the week, you have to take yourself on an artist date. Every day you have to write your morning pages, and then you have like some answers and questions. This is the book. This is the book, right? So the first week of The Artist's Way was around recovering a sense of safety. Implies that as a creative, you need to be supported. So a lot of the questions were around kind of like your self-worth and whether or not you felt genuinely supported as a kid, or like when you first started your art, who's like that community around you. And one of the, I guess, pages or sections of this week's readings that really made me sit down and think a lot about my upbringing as an artist was something called Protecting the Artist Child Within. And one of the phrases that I highlighted was that she says, judging your early artistic efforts is artist abuse. That really took me back because when I think of being creative or being an artist or like growing in my skill sets with like the camera and film and storytelling and stuff like that, I never thought that that could be abused, or like I could use that to abuse myself. The reason this stood out was because she says judging your early artistic efforts is artist abuse. This happens in a number of ways. Beginning work is measured against the master works of other artists. Beginning work is exposed to premature criticism, shown to overly critical friends. In short, the fledgling artist behaves with well-practiced masochism. Masochism is an art form long ago mastered, perfected during the years of self-reproach. This habit is the self-hating bludgeon with which a shadow artist can beat himself right back into the shadows. And I started thinking about ways that I was abusive to myself as a beginning artist when I started. I didn't really start considering myself an artist until probably like halfway through film school, when I heard a teacher refer to us as that. And so that kind of started changing how I identified myself. One thing I did notice is that those first short films that I made in college, one is called Balance and one is called Blackout. Blackout was my junior year film project that I made. It was a short film. And then Balance was my senior thesis short film. And I had a lot of strong feelings about both of these projects that I never really talked about and shared. And I think both of those were really revolved around shame and disappointment in how they came out. And I was really just talking to my sister about this the other day, and I was mentioning that specifically for the film Blackout. Now, this was a short film that I wrote talking about just like a black kid that, you know, he is kind of like the man of the house. It's him and his younger sister, and their mom is like very absent because she's like always at work. So he's juggling trying to play like basketball and be in school and then also be like the man of the house at home. It was a very short film, and I feel so ashamed of that project because I did something that no one ever talks about. Is I knowingly exploited like stories around police brutality, which is something that I'm not proud of, and I'm very ashamed of what I chose to put in that story and in that film, because at the end of that short film, a routine traffic stop, he ends up getting killed. And The reason I feel ashamed of that is because I felt like I just needed a way for that story to end because I didn't do the hard work of actually analyzing and sitting with the story and figuring out like the character's wants and needs. Like, I didn't really try to tell a good story with that film. I was just trying to make a project, and then I was trying to have either like some shock factor or something that would be exciting. You know, in film and movies, death is really exciting. If someone has a gun or gets killed, that's exciting. And you know, I played on that trope of like racist white cops, black people. And while that does happen, I'm not saying it doesn't. Like, there's obviously video evidence of that happening. I think exploited that and tried to use that story to really, in an unethical way. I just think it was very unethical how I chose to handle it. And then I see a lot of other filmmakers that are posting movies, and all the movies are about police brutality. And like, while it's a really sensitive subject, like, I don't know if morally and ethically I felt right after I did it of putting that type of image on screen. It's like, did I need to contribute to the dozens and thousands of images of black men being in the street? Like, did I need to do that? Like, how is that right? And so I really feel ashamed of that project, but I still put it up on my YouTube page because it's part of like that early artist life and journey that I don't want to forget. Like, I don't want to ever forget like how reckless you can be as a filmmaker with the stories that you tell when you're not really tapped into yourself. And for a long time, probably like when the last time I talked to my sister, like for a long time I carried that like shame and guilt around that project as a way, and that was really like abusive to me as artist, because on one side of it, like, I can't, I didn't choose to like accept what I did, take responsibility, and like move on. Instead, I kind of just like always use that as a way to internally shame myself as an artist. And that contributed to how I'm like approaching the projects I'm working on now, and like not feeling like I can do it or things like that, or am I being unethical? Like, it's all these like things that started to hinder my current creative process because I wasn't realizing how shameful I was about that. I know, heavy, right? Crazy. Filmmakers be going through it because it's like, you responsible. You have to take some responsibility and accountability for the images that you put on screen. And there's no like right or wrong way. And that's one aspect of filmmaking that I'm really interested in, is like that ethical side, because all through film school, I never took an ethics class. It's not like journalism where you're mandated to take ethics and there's a code of conduct that you're supposed to approach gathering information and research and getting sources and things like that. Like, that's not how it is in film. A lot of times, salacious stories, fabricated stories, super dramatized stories are some of the most entertaining, but is it right? And the other project that I had some feelings about, that I really can say that I was abusive to my young artist self in that way, was with my senior thesis film, Balance. Now, Balance, I loved that script that I wrote. I was really proud of it, and I loved pitching it. It was about like this young black girl who wanted to be a dancer. So she had made this audition tape to go to like a premier dance school, and after she sends it in, she kind of starts to, like, we get a little bit into her home life and realize that she's using that opportunity to go to dance school as a ticket to run away from home and to get out, because the situation that she's in is not ideal, right? She doesn't have the best home life, you know. She's using that ticket as like a way to escape, and through that process, while she's waiting to hear back from the school, she finds out that she gets pregnant. So she has to decide whether or not she's going to stay in a situation that she is not happy in, that she doesn't want to be in, where she feels like she has better options out there, that she can do more with her life. So she has to either choose to stay there with the baby or get rid of the baby and go chase her dreams. And so I really loved that story and that project. I think it was like the perfect type of story for a short film. And there were a lot of beautiful moments in how it came out. But I think the way I was abusive to myself during that project was that I wasn't honest with myself about how disappointed I was in how the film came out. Like, there were a lot of aspects that didn't align with my vision that I had to reconcile with myself with. Like, I couldn't cast the right mom who was the same complexion or skin tone because I was in Montana and there's not a lot of black people in Montana. There were technical issues with filming in the gym that we did on one day where the lighting was so bad and it was like all yellow and all these things, and it was like really loud and noisy in there. And then I wasn't really able to get like some of the performances that I want out of it. Like, we got these really cute kids at the end to show that, you know, she chose to keep the baby and stay, and she became a dance teacher instead of going to the dance school. And, but there were like moments where like the audio wasn't really good, and there were certain shots and moments in that film that were just so in alignment with what I saw from my vision. And in that realm, I'm proud of it, but I was disappointed in that it didn't like manifest into how I genuinely saw it because of that. But what I can say is that I'm still really proud of a lot of things we did with that project. One thing that we did was like I fell in love with like the rehearsal process then, because the main character in it, Deidre Williams, was my girl in my senior year in college, and we spent literally we spent months just hanging out, talking. We would go to the dance studio, we can practice. She would try to teach me dance routines, and I'm not a quick learner at dance routines and all these things. So we spent a lot of time together in the process of creating kind of like her routine and doing all that stuff and getting test shots was really fun. We did the cover image photo and all that, and it was just a really good time. After that project wrapped, she actually started doing some modeling around in Montana, and then she started teaching dance classes. The DP was like, he was great. He was a junior at the time, and I really enjoyed working with him because he was such a cool, like, guy. And the team that we had, like how that set was run, I was really proud of. It was very easy and communicative. Everybody was so hands-on, so supportive. Even like working with my producer, like she found people to like donate money, even though we didn't have a lot of funds to make it, but we got everything that we needed. And so while on one hand, I can say I'm disappointed in that the film itself didn't exactly manifest in the way that I saw it in my mind, but I'm really proud of that project. And funny enough, Balance, that short film, is one of my most watched YouTube videos that I put up. I don't even think I put a description on that video, but I just put it on YouTube a while ago, and now it's at 2,000 views. And so my point in really wanting to shout out the Artist's Way and deep diving into week 1 is just that the little ways that you abuse yourself as an artist, whether it's in how you think about your old work or your early work, or how you talk to yourself when you're in a process, or how you reflect and look back on things that didn't go exactly your way, are just, it's really dangerous and harmful to your artistic practice and your growth. Because if you stay stuck looking at what you did as not good enough or it's trash, you become the monster. You become your own critic. And it's a trap that I think a lot of, emerging artists and filmmakers especially fall into. It's like, I don't get critique like that out in the world. The work that I make is really good. So the worst critic that I've always faced has always been myself, with how I think, oh, it didn't look right, or this didn't go right. Like, I'm nitpicking all these things, and it's like this small voice in my head that's really abusive, and it's not healthy. So I'm really appreciative for uncovering that and starting to recover that this week. I'm excited to do week 2. Oh, for my artist day, what did I do? For my artist day for the first week, I went to this really lovely bookstore called Postman bookstore at Ponce, and I got a really fun comic book. And I was looking for, I was like, oh, maybe I should pick up something that would be inspiring for the blaxploitation film that I'm making. And I was like, maybe I could find some 1970s or whatever. And I found this comic book about the Black Panther Party, and it's so dope. And it's kind of, I've learned a lot. I realized I didn't know Jack butt crack about the Black Panther Party or nothing.